but it's all about building trust. You are a doctor who that mom and dad will literally, in our case, physically place their child in your hands. The health of their most precious commodity will literally physically go in your hands. And you think they're not going to take the time to get to know you? All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. You know, the one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Ellie Wright, Jackie Jacobowitz, and incredible guests, chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatric, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go. We know that their life gets significantly, immeasurably better when they have nervous system focused, principled pediatric chiropractic care in their life. So our job with this podcast, our plan with this podcast is enter your life, get onto your audio dial and train you and teach you and inspire you and inform you and equip you and resource you and all the things to move you to a more certain, more confident, more convicted, more on fire pediatric chiropractor, to improve your clinical skill sets, your adjusting, your communication, your understanding of our science and philosophy as it relates to taking care of kids and families, your ability to connect, communicate, convert, your ability to brand and market and build your practice. All the things are covered here, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and today we are talking about the 5 things that moms must know before they buy from you. Now, we're going to break this title down before we get into the 5 things, and we get all notebooky and note-taking and action-oriented. There's a good bit of context I need to do to set this one up and get you to the right place to take advantage of these 5 things, meaning change their lives with the greatest product in chiropractic and blow up your practice as a result. And that's where I'm going with this, okay? I'm going to actually work backwards through the title to get to this episode's, the meat of this episode, if you will. It says the word buy in the title. Now, when I was prepping and making the outline and working with the team for this one, I gave a couple different iterations of it. The 5 things moms must know before they call. The 5 things moms must know before they give chiropractic a try. Now, those were weak. Okay, the whole goal was to push the envelope with this one. So after I kind of tested out a few titles, I was like, that's not at all what I intend. I intend to come straight for your heart and soul with this episode, and really every episode. I tell you the freaking truth. If you're not comfortable selling this product, nervous system focused, principled pediatric chiropractic, then you've got work to do on you before you're ready to serve them. And if that's the case, freaking fantastic, totally relatable, absolutely normal. All right? That's why the podcast exists. What we want to do on every episode, but especially through the entirety of the podcast, our YouTube, our socials, the PX membership, our certificate program, all the things that PX brings to the world, is pick you up wherever you are on this journey, your journey to become a world-class kick-ass pediatric chiropractor and move you to the next step. In fact, that's actually part of the practical training we'll get into with this episode. Number 3 on this list is moms need a plan. They need you to tell them, go here next, do this next. That's what I'm going to do at the front end and the back end of this podcast episode, is be able to communicate with you and say, look, if you hear something like sell chiropractic, them buy chiropractic, creating content all over the freaking internet talking about chiropractic, and you have reservations, you have subluxations, interference, hesitation, dysfunction when it comes to understanding and being all in for that, That's totally okay. That means that the foundational component of the journey for you, working on your certainty, working on your clinical skill set, and becoming that much more confident, convicted, and certain of a pediatric chiropractor, well, that's the bridge, that's the foundation to today's conversation, which is all about branding, all about marketing, all about content, all about getting new patients. And so the real underlying cause, remember, I'm a pediatric chiropractor obsessed with cause. So when we face a problem, we don't want to just treat the symptoms and be all medically. We want to be full tilt chiropractic even when we examine our business. Even when we look at our practice, we still do so through the lens of a chiropractic philosophy and the scientific theory behind chiropractic, which says, let's go deep into the root cause and handle that so that we're not just band-aiding the problem, but we're fixing it in full. And so those of you who don't love marketing, those of you who don't love content, branding, selling, if you will, chiropractic, well, then we have to pause here for a moment and ask the question, why? Now, when I first got into chiropractic, when I was going through chiropractic school, when my first foundational job was to just learn how to do the core element of the job, adjust and get sick kids better and keep healthy kids and families that way for life and do so with excellence, I didn't give a damn about marketing. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to learn about social media when it first showed up. I was still learning other things. I was still growing in other areas, but because I took that path so full out and learned to be a Jedi subluxation assassin, because I created clinical protocols through this thing called the perfect storm and our specialty in birth trauma and the toughest of pediatric cases, guess what I've seen day after freaking day for 15 plus years running prior to recording this episode and living the life I live now? Miracles, y'all. It's on my t-shirt if you're watching on YouTube, by the way, if you love to learn this content, where sometimes we get on the iPad, we sketch, we show some visuals. If you're a very visual learner, you love podcasts, and you love YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the Pediatric Experience on YouTube. Comment, engage, give us a little love over there. But the truth of the matter is, I have fallen in love with marketing, branding, selling, whatever word you want to put in it, because they're all kind of separate, but they all come to the same mission. They all have the same vision. They all have the same strategic purpose, which is to change kids' freaking lives with chiropractic. I've fallen in love with the business of chiropractic because of its ability to create miracles unlike any other product out there. So if you're uncomfortable in these sort of conversations, and especially as we get into the list of the 5 things your content must deliver to moms, we're going to ruffle some feathers. We're going to tell you, you must put yourself out there, personal branding. You must be able to communicate the science and how chiropractic works effectively. You've got to know your stuff. You've got to be full of confidence, clarity, conviction, and authenticity to do any of these 5 things, which means that's where you must begin. So if you're lacking certainty, clarity, conviction, clinical skill sets at all, well, then take the notes. Listen, I'm not telling you to exit stage left on this podcast episode. Take the freaking notes on this one, but know there might be some foundational work for you to do first. So for me, that was the catalyst. That still is the catalyst. Y'all, I want you just to think about this for a second. Why would I be so obsessed with building not only this platform, the PX, the Pediatric Experience, which is the fastest growing, largest training organization for pediatric chiropractors out there. I mean, nervous system focused, principled, on fire pediatric chiropractors. Why would we take the time to train and build this army when the practice is thriving? Why would we build the PX Docs platform, which is our parent-facing platform? If you haven't tuned into the Experience Miracles podcast, that's another great one you should have on your dial, be subscribed to all the time. That's our parent-facing content right from this studio and our other studio and our YouTube channel and all that. Why would I spend so much time, so much energy, so many resources talking about chiropractic to the world and creating content to chiropractors, to parents all over? Because I've experienced the miracles. That's why we named it the Pediatric Experience. Once that happens to you, then you do everything you can to help change the world through you and your actions. So my love of marketing is because of my love for chiropractic. My obsession with creating content is because of my obsession with creating miracles through the product that they will purchase, come in for, care for. I could spend another half hour, literally minimum 3 hours, setting up the context on this episode, but I want to get to the stuff. I want to get to the 5 things. I just want you to know that if that 5 to 10 minute intro really hit you in the soul and said, hey, I know he's about to go through this list of 5 things that my content must really excel in, the 5 things your content must do. This isn't a suggested list. This is a must-do list. And if you can't quite get there, if you can't quite fully commit to these 5 actions, then that's okay. Then there's foundational work yet for you to do. And all you need to do is just stay tuned, stay dialed into this podcast and our content, and send us a DM and just share your story, ask questions, wherever you need our help from to get you ready to become a content marketing machine. Well, that's our job first, to then set you loose on this list and content marketing. So here's the deal about moms. They will go through these 5 things, especially the first 3. I will tell you real quick, these are ranked in this order, and I'm teaching to you on this podcast in this order for a reason. Number 1 is the most important by far. Number 2 is more important than number 3 by far. Number 3 is more important than, see where I'm going with this? Okay. Number 4 and 5, they're important, but they don't rank as high as 1, 2, and 3. So when we send you into action, which we do with every episode, we say, hey, here's what I would do with this. Here's the strategic action you can improve yourself, improve your practice, serve and save more kids with. That's the ranking order with which you need to go through this. So the 5 things moms must know before they buy Pediatric Chiropractic, that product that you deliver that no one else in the world can, the first thing they need to get to know is you. I'll never forget every story of, I love when I take a case history and a new patient coming in, because I know that our marketing must first work to have a chance to save their life. I do 2 studies. I dive deep into 2 things every single time with every new patient. Number 1, my clinical job is to dive deep into their CSI, chiropractic science, chiropractic story investigation, as we call it in our training. So we're going into their case history, we're going into their perfect storm pathway, and we are finding what caused their subluxation and their challenges. So we're doing our job as chiropractor, diving deep. I also do my job as a business owner, practice owner, content save moms first through marketing obsessed operator, and I find out how they came. I not only want to build that personal relationship. You know what? Linda and her family sent you. Love Linda. She's been with us literally for 15 years. It's not just that strategy. I'm not just looking to build that personal relationship. A lot of patients are either referred and then come through our content, our Instagram, our Facebook, our website, our YouTube, our workshops, whatever it is. Most moms, by the way, make their way through multiple platforms and forms of content before they come in. And this story I'm going to tell you will illustrate that perfectly. And it's super important to know this, because if you have any holes in your game on this list or your content strategy as a whole, you're missing out on copious amounts of new patients. And the coolest thing, real quick on this list, when they take this journey, it can be overwhelming for you running you're like, wait a minute, I got to do all these things? Hang with me right at the outset of this one. Yes. And when you do, holy heck, the kind of new patient coming in your doors these days, because we don't just have to rely on word of mouth, but we can literally make content that speaks directly to them, helps them get to know us, helps them understand what we do and how it works before they even come in. Guess how much easier day 1 and day 2 and conversions and table talk communication is today when you practice in this environment where they can watch literally 2, 20, 50 hours of content before they come in. So that's what Bella's mom did. Bella started having seizures. Beautiful little girl, unbelievable family, faith-based natural health family. And so when Bella started having seizures, of course, the first thing you do with seizures is you go medical, emergency room, pediatricians, neurologists, EEGs, and medications. And that was the last thing they wanted. So they looked up online, what are the side effects, short and long term, of these medications? And they were awful. Do these medications get to the root cause? No, her daughter didn't even have seizures on the EEG, yet was put on medications. So what Bella's mom did is she scoured the internet, her words upon intake. Before she called, came in and bought into the care plan and got her better. By the way, spoiler alert, the best kind. Bella's been seizure free for years and is killing it. But I will never forget on that consult, as her mom said, I watched every single video. Thankfully, this is years ago. Otherwise, she would have had a long journey to get in because I got a lot of videos out there now. She goes, I watched every single video you have on your website, on Facebook, on YouTube. I even watched your commencement address you gave to chiropractors at your alma mater. Y'all, this mom watched so many years ago, about a year before this family came in, I was blessed to go back to Palmer and deliver the commencement address. And this mom watched that. It was like 40 minutes, whatever it is. She watched me talking about chiropractic to other chiropractors. That is how much stalking. I'm just trying to tell you stories, give you some funny words to tell you they're going to get to know you, and they require to get to know you before they come in. Rory Vaden and his group he's one of the foremost experts in the world on personal branding. They did an entire study through their group, I believe out of Tennessee. And it's incredible. They just interviewed thousands and thousands of consumers, customers, purchasers, right? In our world, that would be a new patient. And they asked them, when it comes to personal brand, what are the things that matter most? And they really published this data on this study, which industries, personal branding, review, having the person's personal story out there. Just think about the world we live in. If you bought a Tesla, I bet you knowing Elon Musk's personality, for most people, a lot of people, that's why they bought the Tesla. Tesla, I'm sure, would like to think, our technology is awesome. Our design is awesome. All of these specifications and widgets within this product are awesome. That's true. Teslas are badass, okay? If you like to live that weak life, just kidding. But the truth, come on, y'all. I'm a farm kid. Let's go. F-150s all day. But truth of the matter, not the Lightning. Let's just get that out there, okay? Not yet. I haven't succumbed anyways. But yes, the tech package on a Tesla is badass. Yes, your technique is hopefully badass. But Elon Musk sells more Teslas through his personal brand than Tesla's technology does, okay? That's how this works today. We're not making this podcast episode with how marketing and getting new patients worked when it was a generation ago of chiropractors. And that's the problem. Most people's chiropractic technique still based upon adjusting kids from 1978. Most chiropractors' care plans still based on 1978 care plans. Most chiropractors' business, marketing, content strategy, they don't have a content strategy because they don't know what that means because they market like it's 1978. And they think it's just about what school they went to, what technique, where they are in town, and word of mouth. And the truth of the matter is, moms want to know you. They will take the time to get to know you. So the moniker for this is personal branding. And it must be personable. It must be compassionate. It must be relatable. It must be trustworthy. You must show that you have experience and that you have education. So when you think about your personal brand and then you open that box up and you say, okay, and maybe we'll do a whole episode on, not maybe, I'll write it down now. We will do an entire episode on personal branding one day. We'll take item number 1 on this list and go nuts with it. But it's all about building trust. You are a doctor who that mom and dad will literally, in our case, physically place their child in your hands. The health of their most precious commodity will literally physically go in your hands. And you think they're not going to take the time to get to know you? The last piece of proof, I have to really hammer this one home, is we have hot mapped our website and tons of pediatric chiropractic websites within the PX Docs network, including the biggest pediatric chiropractic website in the world, pxdocs.com, which is our parent-facing one, which has tens of thousands. By the time you listen to this, maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of moms visiting it every single month. So we've hot mapped moms' journeys online, whether they Google us and find us or whether they come over from Instagram or Facebook or a webinar or word of mouth. Whenever they land on your website, the first place they click, so a hot map tells you where most people go by percentage. They don't go to your technique. They don't go to your hours. They don't go to look at pictures of your office. They're not going to a resort. they are going to a doctor. So they click on the About Us, Meet the Doctor, Our Story page. They not only click there first, they spend the longest amount of time, as long as your page is not lame. So what needs to be on there? You. Plain old, just as God made you, you. Or maybe you're not plain. Maybe you're expressive and crazy and raging bull like me. Maybe you're super introverted and analytical and very nerdy. Well, then that you needs to be there. The coolest thing about this is they're not looking for a certain style of doctor other than an authentic one. Because authenticity is the most important thing in building trustworthiness. Right now, as of recording this, we have literally almost 1,000 PX doctors out there, and we have success going across, massive success in practice, including personal branding, what we're training on here, with all sorts of personalities. I can think of tons of our docs who are very introverted and very quiet, and their videos don't have near of the hand gestures and near of the energy and near the rants and the long ass intros before they get to the 5 things. My 15-minute video is their 5-minute video, okay? Now, if they tried to do a 15-minute video, wouldn't be as successful because they don't have the engagement and the things that may be there filling the other 10 minutes. But what works for me wouldn't work for them, same as what works for them wouldn't work for me. If I tried to do a more succinct, straightforward 5-minute video, I'd have less success because that's less authentic to me, and consumers and moms can figure this out. So I have gone all through number 1 in a big way, but what moms need to know first, must know first, and will take the time to get to know is who are you? Last little tip I've got on my notes here for this. Guess where they find that? Not just that Meet the Docs or Our Story page on your website. They find it on your stories. In today's social media strategy, yes, at least once a week, you should be creating what we call personality-based posts and really showing your story, really illustrating and showing the team and showing the personal side of your practice. But you should absolutely have tons of behind-the-scenes content, fun, joyful, get to know the doctor content on Instagram and Facebook stories. That's where people expect to see behind the scenes, behind the curtain a little bit, and get to know your business, get to know you better. So the first thing moms need to know is all about you. The second thing they need to know, and that first one was the biggest fish to fry, so we can make our way through the rest of this list a little bit quicker and get you into action. The second thing they need to know is social proof. They need to see social proof. There is nothing more important than sharing at minimum 2 testimonials per week. Now, if you're listening somewhere where you are more restricted in your ability to put testimonials out there, let me just sneak this in for you. So you take this list of 5 and you have to distribute that pie accordingly based upon what Canada, Australia, New Zealand, or whatever will let you do. So number 1 is the most important content, them getting to know you. How much you care, your expertise, your compassion, just the more content you can make and become a personal brand. Think about the biggest businesses in the world right now. They're built on brand. What kind of brand? Not just the brand of the product anymore, not just the brand of the technology anymore, but every freaking company from Starbucks, Howard Schultz, to Disney, and it can work for you. The company can blow up because the CEO builds a brand and the brand goes well, or the company can go down because the CEO builds a personal brand and he or she's a total turd. And it kills the company. That's how important personal branding is. So if you can't do testimonials, fly back up to number 1 and double down. All right. But for those that can, which is the vast majority of us, if you're not posting 2 testimonials a week, minimum, you're a nut job, because this is the most effective content, social proof. What moms want to know is I want to get to know you. I want to trust you, human to human relationship first. Second, I want to trust that you've done this before. My child has ear infections. I better see at least a couple of stories of ear infections. My child has ADHD. Can you relate to me, human to human? Can you relate to my kid? Have you taken care of this before? Does your website talk about ADHD? And does it not just talk about the article, not just the blog, not just the science of ADHD? We'll get there, y'all. Have you done this before? Now, startups. So I already covered Canada. I'll show you. Those of you that can't handle testimonials or can't produce testimonials the same. You redistribute your content plan more heavily in other areas then. What if you're a startup? Same thing. Same thing. If you are a startup and you don't yet have your own testimonials, well, then you double down on these other pieces, including building your personal brand. As a startup, you're in the season where by far your most important thing to establish with your content is your personal brand. And also, if you're a part of PX, specifically if you're a part of PX Plus, our done for you and done with you content marketing machine, we have literally branded PX Docs testimonials all over our website, and then we create them in this incredible just content package that PX Plus delivers, and we actually have testimonials written in third party. Now, we don't cheat the system in a horrible way, which you wouldn't ever want to do. If anybody does do this, that's a serious issue, and you will be found out by moms, and hopefully not your board regulators, but you just share stories of other pediatric chiropractic miracles. And since our docs are all trained on the same clinical guidelines and protocols through PX Docs, there's actually continuity in the land of PX. Now, the rest of chiropractic doesn't have it, but we do. And so sharing those testimonials. So if I'm in practice, if I'm starting a practice today and I don't have testimonials that have been generated just yet in our practice, you better believe I'm going to pxdocs.com, and those stories of hope, I'm sharing them all day, or I'm jumping into PX Plus and having them put forth right for me. So sharing, we call them case studies in that way. So many ways to do it. I wanted to jump right into those of you that have more restrictions or would hear that one and go, yeah, but I can't. By the way, little sneak in here to what it's like to be an Igbo kiddo, one of the 4 little Igbo Ruskis. There is two words outlawed in this house: well and but. You cannot start a sentence with the word well, and you cannot start a sentence with the word but, because they both are about to kick out an excuse. If a sentence starts with, well, she, but this, and then the worst one is, yeah, but, because you're trying to trick me. You're trying to say, yeah, oh yeah, I agree, you're right, but, here's my excuse. You know what? Keep that in your pocket, all right? Your excuse ain't valid here, okay? So I wanted to help you homies out there. Even those of you to the north of the wall, up there in Canada. All right, number 3, do you have a plan? Now, little story to bring this one home as well. On another episode here, a different episode of a different podcast, our Experience Miracles podcast, where I was interviewing our chief heart officer who started as a patient, Miss Jackie, who you will hear from again and again, I'm sure, on this podcast as well, because she helps us teach other chiropractic offices in a major way, and CAs. So she is our chief CA and office boss lady. I was just asking her about her experience coming through with pediatric chiropractic and first finding it. And I said, hey, if you were to summarize, so she came through the Perfect Storm workshop, right? So she saw the whole presentation about birth trauma, subluxation, dysautonomia, the vagus nerve, so forth. And then day 1, where we do our deep dive, our consultation, our scans, the inside scans. And then day 2, where we sit down knee to knee, we connect with parents, we go through their goals, we dive deep into their daily struggles, we go beyond their goals, we show them the scans, and we deliver the plan. Number 3 here, thing we're talking about, with conviction. I asked her, I said, what is one thing, if there was a through line through those first 3 meetings with me, one thing that stood out, what was it? Of course, my science brain, I was like, I hope she was going to say, well, you just really made sense of the science for me. Next step, number 4. She said, you were the first doctor, first provider, first person we had met in 5 years of living through this storm who gave us a clear plan and clear next steps. Y'all write this down if you're in a place where you can do this. Moms right now are more overwhelmed, confused, and lost than ever before. They're looking for a person with proof and then a plan. Okay? These 3 P's: personal brand, proof, social proof and testimonials, and then a plan. Every piece of content you make must have a very clear, concise CTA. It's called a call to action. Next step. If you go and you watch any piece of our content, we always, every single time, give them a call to action. Now, does that mean every single call to action is come on in as a new patient, $19 today if you call by 5 p.m.? Heck no. Rarely do we ever push them to call and come in. but we always push them to learn more. Comment below, send us a DM, ask us your question. Then, once we engage in that next level of conversation, they are now an engaged lead because they're following us. They've commented, they've DM'd, they've sent a form to the website. Now we're going to move them to the next step from there, which is let's get on the phone. Now they're on the phone. They're talking to one of our CAs. What's the next step from a phone call? Let's book your consultation, your scans, and your report of findings. Cool. Now they've come in. They're doing a day 1. They've got a day 2. What is the next step? This is the care plan. This is what your child needs to get through the storm and have their life changed. Do you see that every conversation, every piece of content, whether digitally made for the masses or individual, day 1, day 2, table talk, there always must be a plan. No one else gives one because no one else can. Because pediatricians are let's wait and see how it goes. Therapy, let's get started and see how it goes. Watered down, diluted chiropractors. Why don't we go 2 times a week and see how it goes? You want to know why PX chiropractors are kicking the snot out of every other chiropractor in their community? Because they have a plan. They had a plan that they're on to get themselves better. They have a plan to clinically deliver care. 5-step clinical framework, our PX care plan builder. They deliver care plans to parents with conviction. The average PX chiropractor care plans, all cash. The average PX chiropractor, 3 to 5 times more care, higher frequency, longer duration, which would add up to more money than non-PX chiropractors. And yet our conversions are higher because they want what we're giving them. I cannot tell you how important it is to give them a clear, concise plan. What should your plan be rooted in? Science, your exam, your analysis. So the reason we have such conviction and clarity in our plan is because of that. Number 4, can you explain how it works? I'm going to rapid fire through 4 and 5 because I think they're very important. But man, we went deep on 1 through 3 because that is the story. But number 4 is, can you actually talk me through it? Now, truth is, lots of people will already call and buy after 1, 2, and 3. Once they get to know you, once they see stories that relate to their children, and once they can tell, hey, you get in here, we got you. Once you get started, we're going to give you a plan. We're going to give you a path. Once they can just tell you're someone who literally partners with them. So we're not looking for a dictatorship, but a partnership that says, get in here. We got a plan. Let's go. Not that many moms need to watch the video all the way through to how it works, but enough do that you need them. Okay. The one thing I can tell you about content types is our long form content, which is maybe something like this, where we spend 30 to 40 minutes going through 3 steps to this, 5 steps to this, 5 things you may not know about ADHD, 3 things to help with an ear infection. I don't know, whatever this title might be. The top line metrics on that longer form, more here's how it works, let's break it down, educational based content, we would call it. So information, we teach from the 3 I's. You need to inspire your story. Your relatability and social proof and testimonials inspires them. Then you need to inform and educate them. And then you need to invite them and bring them into the next step. This informational, educational, explain how it works content is super crucial to a lot of moms who maybe are a little more analytical, who are so ready. They're inspired by your story. They get to know you. They've seen other cases like yours. They can't wait to learn more about it, but they do want to learn more about it. Now, this is the mom who will watch those long form videos. This is the mom who will tune into that podcast. This is the mom who will sign up for your Perfect Storm workshop and come there first before coming in for care. What does that all mean? You need that content too. Okay? Because if you don't have that content, if you don't take the time to make the more educational, explaining type content, then you're going to miss out on those moms and dads who need that before they buy. We call these learn more moms. Are they emotionally, inspirationally, kind of connected to first? Yes, but then as the flywheel spins on from inspiration, they need more information. They're the moms who read the articles on the website and the blogs. They're the moms who want to learn about the insight scans and the clinical process and how it works. So that content that's on your website, it gets traffic too. Remember, whole point of this episode, not as much as the flow of the hot map is meet the doctors first, then patient stories, testimonials, and then technique and how it works. By far, number one is number one. By far, number two beats number three. But number three gets a fair amount of traffic. Number three has a big job to do in this content strategy for lots of moms, okay? So you don't want to leave that off your content strategy. Explain how it works. And the last things I want to tell you about this number four is you have to make it simple. You have to make it relatable. And most chiropractors struggle massively with communicating the science and the steps of how chiropractic works. Most chiropractors either A, make it too spinal and too outdated, and that is found out today. And then other chiropractors make it way too complicated. Oh, we're brain-based and prefrontal cortex and da-da-da. Cool for a chiropractic seminar. The smarter, and this is where God made me. I am just so thankful to God for a million reasons, but God made me so smart and not smart at the same time. Okay? God made me with this brain that can roll with Heidi, that can roll into disafferentation, that studied under Chestnut, Dr. Murphy, and Dr. Fletcher, and I can keep pace with the big brains, but not that many chiropractors can keep pace with me doing chores on the farm. The blessing of growing up on a farm in Iowa is I've learned to communicate things simply and straightforward. And so the answer to this magic formula of communication and educational content is you must be able to do both. You have to be able to speak the science at a high level to show you know your stuff while simultaneously bringing it down to their level so they can make sense of your stuff. That is the ticket, ladies and gentlemen. When you figure out how to communicate that way, and we teach this in the PX frameworks, you don't have to be either the big brilliant nerd brain, and you don't have to have grown up on it. You're like, I'm screwed. I didn't grow up on a farm. No, this is all teachable. This is all learnable, but only if you commit to that. A lot of chiropractors, they really, especially in the pediatric space, it seems we attract a lot of them. They really like to sound smart. And a lot of them will say, oh yeah, and then our content, we communicate this to parents. Yeah, you may communicate it, but there's a difference between communicating it and communicating it effectively. And then number 5, is your business legit? Now, I think this is worthy of a mention on this list. When I was first making the outline, I thought about just leaving it number 3, but you better believe that number 4 and number 5 finish the conversion. They finish that decision for that parent. Hey, let me watch a video or two, at least 3 minutes or 5 minutes of this video. I just want to make sense. How's this work again? What's the process? Take me through the science. And then number 5, let me just snoop around a little bit. Let me get online. Let me get on their Google reviews. They legit? Let me go to their website, take pictures. Is this a chiropractor in a van down by the river? Is this a chiropractor with wood paneling? Is this a chiropractor whose office looked like 1978, grew up on it? Is this a chiropractor answering their own phones, scheduling their own patients, and doing their own finances? Now, you may think I'm closing this one with a little bit of harsh judgment for that style of chiropractic business, but I am very intentionally focused on moms who need you. And I know that they want these 5 to go 5 out of 5 in spades. Moms are not impressed by small scale things. So while that may be high profit, that's not high impact. That's not 5-star customer service. That's not going to create a wow effect for a mom. Now, is that where you maybe start as a startup, renting a room in the back of a birth center? Yeah, make that the most badass room in that birth center. Is that where you need to start? Where your wife is your first CA? Yeah, I did. Our first baby was 2 weeks old and we had 1 CA, but then we still hired another one because we knew that that's what we needed to have, is to look and be professional. So again, number 5, what does it take to present a legit business, a legit brand? Probably also another full episode just breaking this one down. But where you're located, what does your physical office look like? What is the design? What is the decor? What hours do you work? Are you open less than a part-time banker? That's not that professional. Do you have a whole team that supports you, again, or are you flying solo? Nobody wants to go to a doctor who schedules their own patient and does their own scans and does their own finances. And again, startups, hear me for what I'm saying. Everything has a season, but when you're hustling and you're getting after it, the first moves you should make is hiring a team to help build your practice, including building your brand. And what does it look like behind the scenes? They will check this out. And if, let's say, I'll just close it down with this. Let's say there's 2 chiropractors in town. Both share their personal story, and they're very relatable, very trustworthy. Both have tons of social proof and testimonials. Both care plan. Whew, that would make me really happy. Both can get on to a video and explain subluxation in a both advanced yet simple way and make sense of it. So now mom is down to choosing between Chiro 1 or Chiro 2, and she may choose based upon the size, the scale, the brand of the business, and whether it's a smaller mom and pop sort of feel or a bigger, more established sort of feel. So I'm not saying that we can all start there, but I am saying as we all push there and look to get there, that builds everything bigger. The fact that we have an entire team as convicted, as compassionate, as on fire as I am, you better believe helps our personal brand and helps our conversions from content. So call to action for you guys on this podcast. Number 1, fix yourself. That's what I have written down on the iPad. Do what it takes. Where are you missing? What part of your story doesn't have the conviction, doesn't have the relatability, doesn't have the clarity? Do you need to study chiropractic more? Do you need to study the science, the adjusting, the philosophy more? Do you need to study communication and telling your story more? Go to Rory Vaden, go to Dan Sullivan, go to these people and get help from that. Number 2, review your content plan. Are you posting enough testimonials, and are you posting enough personal brand building content? Number 3, review your communication skills. Can you explain things simply? Have you ever recorded one of your day 1, day 2s? Have you made a marketing video and watched it? Are you too high level and blowing over and going over their head? Or are you too basic and too weird and too spinal? And then number 3, audit your business. What needs to level up? Do you need to have a CA, do your financials, run your scans, and help out? Do you need to take that next level in building your brand so you can build better conversions in this way? Y'all, these are the 5 things moms must know before they buy. I hope you loved this episode. Per usual, I always set out with like, oh, this one's going to be 20 to 30 minutes. I'll just get right into it. It's going to be great. I had like a 20-minute intro to give you the context, just dissecting the word buy and sell and those things. So that'll be a whole nother episode where we'll take that one and go even deeper. And I'm sure we went 35, 40 minutes by the time we're done with this one. But if you get a lot out of this content, if this helps you go forward and serve more kids with more confidence, more certainty, and a higher skill set in all the things, including today, creating content that moms must have before they bring their babies to you to have their lives transformed and changed. If you love this stuff, if it's serving you, if it's helping you, then we would love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share the heck out of this podcast. That would do so much good for the mission of reaching millions and millions of kids and families with pediatric chiropractic. Through you, through me, through all of us. This is a mission we're all on together. We'll see you on the next episode. Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.